Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. Early retirement does not mean the end to all of your problems. Quite the contrary. There are some new problems that are going to pop up if you become financially independent and if you retire early. And the very first one that I want to discuss with you today is inflation. Inflation is something that is a big hot topic issue right now, but inflation has always been a risk to early retirement, to regular retirement, to financial independence. And the reason why inflation is such a big risk is, well, many reasons, but one of the main reasons is that it destroys your purchasing power for goods and services. If the currency that you're using has been inflated, then it is worth less and it can buy less goods and services. And this can be particularly bad for retirees or for early retirees because you might not have an income source that is going to grow with inflation. Your income source might not directly increase with the rate of inflation. While at the same time, it's also going to decrease your real returns that you make on your investments. Because in order to calculate the real returns of your investments, you have to subtract inflation from whatever return they have. So if your investments return an average of 10%, but the inflation rate was 8%, then your real return was only actually 2% that year. And that is a bad thing with high amounts of inflation like we have been experiencing recently. And the whole inflation challenge is going to be especially challenging for you if you're the type of person that holds a lot of cash, because that is what is mostly affected by inflation the most, is pure hard cash, because that's what is actually being inflated. That is what is losing purchasing power, and that is cash. Some early retirees or retirees in general tend to hold a lot more money in cash or tend to hold a lot of cash equivalents, which is also going to be badly affected by the inflation rate. However, the good news is that if you're investing in some types of assets, particularly like if you're investing in stocks or you have a large portion of your portfolio investing in real estate, those kinds of investments tend to keep up with inflation, tend to also increase with inflation over the long run. So if your investment portfolio has a lot of stocks in it or has a lot of real estate in it, then most likely over the long run, your portfolio is also going to keep up with the inflation rate. Inflation is a challenge that I'm personally facing, as we all are, but in my early retirement, in my financial independence, I am facing the challenge of inflation right now. And for me, the biggest category that has been affected for my lifestyle is my food bill. So food is something that you have to spend money on pretty much, unless you're able to grow your own food, which I am not. But that has been the category of mine that has been affected the most. And so I have to work my way around that challenge and figure out how I can maintain my spending so that it doesn't go too far out of whack with the amount of inflation that is happening, especially on that particular category. And there are plenty more of other challenges you're going to face, including number 2 on this list, and that is the sequence of returns risk. So the sequence of return risk is the risk that you're going to experience a dramatic market downturn and perhaps a prolonged market downturn shortly after you become retired or shortly after you become financially independent and you start living off of your investment portfolio. This is a risk and is a challenge of early financial independence because if that does happen, it can devastate your portfolio in the long run. A market downturn shortly after you retire is going to have long-lasting devastating effects on your overall portfolio over many, many years. And that's because if your portfolio is temporarily down and you're still withdrawing off of that portfolio, then you're going to be selling more shares to get the same amount of dollars out. So for example, if you retired with $1 million and you went out to follow the 4% safe withdrawal rule, then you would be taking $40,000 in the first year. However, if you experience a market downturn, like a pretty bad one, in year 2, and now your portfolio drops by 25%, that means your $1 million has now become worth about $750,000. If you were still following the 4% rule, that means that you would not decrease your spending and you would keep taking $40,000. So now, if you took $40,000 out of your $750,000 portfolio, then you would be taking 5.33%. So now your withdrawal rate based on your portfolio is much larger than 4%. And that's because you're selling more shares to get the same amount of dollars out because of the temporary market downturn. Over the long run, that could have a bad effect because you'll have less shares that are able to rebound and increase in price once the market returns back to, normally going up. And the longer that this market downturn occurs, the worse it's going to be for your portfolio. And I'm personally experiencing this right now, unfortunately. I'm experiencing experiencing the sequence of returns risk. So I first retired in 2021 and now it is 2022 and I'm experiencing a market downturn. And this market downturn is definitely affecting my portfolio a lot. However, there is some good news because I personally am doing a kind of barista FIRE type lifestyle. So I do have some other small income sources that are able to alleviate the temporary market downturn. And I did start with a withdrawal rate that was lower than 3%. I think it was around 2.5% when I first started my withdrawals. And now that there is a market downturn and my portfolio is temporarily depressed, my withdrawal rate has technically gone up to around 3% of the current asset value. So it is still a very low withdrawal rate. And so I shouldn't experience as high effects of the sequence of return risk that I would if I did start with a 4% withdrawal rate. And I just want to add in here real quick, I do have another video on how you can actually reach early financial independence and early retirement through investing, because you have to get your investing right. But we'll talk more about that at the end of this video. Let's first move on to challenge number 3. And challenge number 3 is your taxes. That is going to be a challenge that you're going to face in early retirement. And the reason for this is that there is always political risk of what can happen to your taxes, whether you're retired or not. So there could possibly be a dramatic increase in the amount of taxes that you owe as a retired person, as a financially independent person. And if you do experience an increase in your tax bill, then you could possibly have to either reduce your spending, more of that money has to go towards taxes, or you're going to have to increase your withdrawals in order to pay for your increased tax bill. Here are some challenges or some concerns that you might have about taxes once you become financially independent. What if all income becomes subject to FICA tax, to Social Security and Medicare? Currently, only earned income, self-employment income and income from like a W-2 earned income is going to be subject to that FICA tax. However, Social Security is not sustainable as it is with the amount of tax revenue that's coming in. So in the future, we might see more sources of income become subject to this kind of tax in order to pay for that program. Another risk might be, what if your long-term capital gains or what if your dividends become subject to ordinary tax rates? Right now, we enjoy a very favorable tax rate on our investment income. What if those went into the ordinary tax brackets? What if those became subject to higher tax rates? That is a possibility. Another possibility is, what if the ordinary tax rates just increase on their own? What if the lower tax brackets increase? Currently, they start at 10% and then they go to 12%. What if those increase, be like they have in the past? We have had much higher ordinary tax rates in the past, and there's no reason to believe that that could not happen again in the future. Just because we enjoy historically low tax brackets right now doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. There are all these challenges when it comes to taxes that could happen in the future, and so that's a big reason why a lot of people are big fans of the Roth IRA, myself included. And I believe that while this is definitely presents a challenge for my early financial independence and my early retirement, I think that I will be able to navigate around these challenges because I currently like to keep up to date on the tax code and how to legally avoid any kind of drastic increases in taxes. I think that pretty much all early retirees should be interested in as well. Another thing that you should be interested in as well is number 4 on this list, your health insurance. Health insurance, when it comes to early retirement, is definitely a tough thing to solve. There are options out there, but they don't apply to everyone. One option might be, if you're a veteran like I am, then you have the option of veteran healthcare, VA healthcare, which is definitely a big plus, but not everyone has that option. Another option might be healthcare.gov and the tax credits that are offered through those programs. And healthcare.gov is probably one of the most common choices or one of the most common plans that those of us in the FIRE community are going to, go after. However, there is risk in that this is a relatively new program and we have no idea if it's going to be the same 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now as it is today. There is definitely some risk in that because what happens to that program is definitely out of our hands. Another solution that I have heard about is healthcare ministries, which isn't actually health insurance, but is more like a, cost sharing plan that has been developed by a lot of, religious organizations. Another solution I've heard of as well is healthcare tourism. So you can actually go and visit countries and get much cheaper healthcare, very high quality as well. You can get that kind of healthcare at a fraction of the price in many countries. And lastly, there are private healthcare plans that you can pay for out of pocket. And so all of those kinds of options are options that you do have, but none of those options are going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because you have to do it all yourself. You have to account for all of that yourself when you're building your financial independence plan. And the health insurance problem is a big reason why I personally, in my early financial independence, make healthy living a very strong priority. It is one of my number one priorities when it comes to how I live my life. And it's a big reason why I currently continue to max out my health savings account, because I know that in the future I might need that if I'm going to take charge of my own health insurance, where I don't have, an employer to provide that for me. Here's another big challenge you're gonna have to face: the challenge of hitting the like button on this video. Now, I'm just kidding. That is actually a very easy challenge to do. So hit that like button if you're enjoying this video so far. I would really appreciate that. But seriously, moving on to the next challenge. Challenge number 5 is a little bit lighter here, and that is the challenge of boredom. Yes, you are going to experience plenty of boredom in early retirement, in financial independence. And that's because maybe all of your friends and all of your family, they're not going to be exactly living the same lifestyle that you are able to live because of what you have done in order to accomplish that lifestyle. So a lot of the people that you know are still going to be going to work. They're still going to have all the other things that they have to take care of. They might not be able to hang out with you during the week. You might have to wait till the weekend. So boredom definitely can be a challenge that you're going to have to overcome. So you're going to have to fill all of your extra time with something that is going to keep you entertained, that is going to keep you busy, which in many circumstances probably means you're going to need some kind of work or some kind of work project for you to work on while you're financially independent. And for me, that is this YouTube channel. This is On Cashflow. That is my work project. This is what keeps me busy. Now, I want to know from you in the comments below, what are some other challenges that you are going to face in early retirement or while you're financially independent? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you have to say. But I have one more challenge that you're going to face for you, and that is finding a sense of purpose. You're going to have to find a sense of purpose when you're financially independent. You're going to have something that is going to keep you going. And for many people, that used to be what they did when they were working. For many people still, their work does give them a sense of purpose, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to have to find a way to fulfill your need to have a sense of purpose. And sometimes that's going to be working on something. Sometimes that's going to be volunteering. Sometimes that's going to be, starting your own business. Whatever it may be, you do have to find something. And for me right now, what I'm doing right now is talking to you in that camera. That is what is giving me a sense of purpose. So I really appreciate you watching. And another thing I would really appreciate is you learning on how you can get to financial independence by investing your way to get there. Okay, because you got to get your investments right. And that's why I created a complete guide for you on how to invest if you want to achieve financial independence. If you have not watched that video, you definitely need to watch that video, okay? It's gonna pop up on the screen right after I get off the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.